Hi, I'm Kamon Reynolds, and today let's show you what we've been up to the last several days, and that is building equipment, wax dipping, building equipment, making thousands and thousands of cuts. So we're going to show you a little bit of it. We'll be showing you more in future videos. However, before we get started, I wanted to say that we have some really cool products that I've never seen before, and I didn't really know a whole lot about, but we're trying a couple of new things this year. One, because I love tinkering around with bee stuff. But I think it might be helpful information for those of you who are wanting to do things differently than what we do, which is definitely a good idea sometimes for sure. Also, by the way, we're doing a live chat tomorrow night at 7 p.m. That's Saturday. Today's Friday. So be there or be like this board and be square, because we use a square, and that's really important. If your equipment's not square, it's not going to sit down the way it's supposed to. So let's show you a little bit of what we're doing. We got some lids cooking in here. This is one that's been pulled out for probably about 25 minutes or so, and it doesn't look all that crazy now, but that wax just soaks right up into here. For those of you who don't know what we're doing, wax dipping is basically just heating up hot paraffin and microcrystalline wax and then cooking your equipment in it. And what that does is when the wood reaches high temperatures, and there's a lot of different methods out there. Some people are pushing the 300 area. I do it more around 250, and you can dip them for hours, you can dip them for 15 minutes. I mean, there's really no one way to do this. Isn't that the way life is, especially beekeeping? So we dip these for 15 minutes, 250 degrees, probably was closer to 20, and I'm pretty excited about these lids. So this is just a nice piece of plywood tops. I'm going to give you the measurements really quick. So we have 16 3/8, so that's what these two top pieces would be as well. And then we have 20 1/8. So there's that. And that is your lid right there. Now we also have on the bottom these rims, which many commercial beekeepers are using. I really like the idea because it's going to help accommodate our patties and a few other things. We'll be sharing with you how well those work for us this year, but I'm pretty optimistic that I'm going to love them. But yeah, this is basically all there is to it, and those are 1/2 inch, if I didn't already say, rims, just the whole length around that just sits right onto the lid. And you can use all kinds of things like foamies that Ian uses, or we call it Reflectix down here, or double bubble. And then there's also other little thin things that you can put in between there to kind of help seal around that if you feel that's necessary. So that's a really basic lid right there. And with the wax dipping and everything, I'm looking around $4 somewhere, maybe even a little bit under, but probably around $4 per lid. Not bad. Now, if you don't have access to a wax dipping system, that's all right. You can still paint them, but the reason the wax dipping works so well is because you have just almost an infinite amount of places that moisture can seep into wood, and when it does that, it causes it to swell, and then when it swells, it leaves even a bigger gap for the next time it rains or whatever is going to bring moisture into your box. Whatever you're making, you've got to seal it off good, and I talk about this a lot, but it doesn't matter if you're using the most rot-resistant wood or if you're using something really cheap. You could use something that's really cheap, and if it's sealed really, really well, it's going to last a long time. So definitely take the extra time with that for whatever you're using and seal it up great. So let's show you what we're dipping over here, and then we'll take you over and show you kind of what we've been cutting up. Got about 100 odd lids going. We've got our cinder block on top of here. You have to watch it. And I'm sure the safety police will be out in droves again today. Every time I do a video on how to with a saw or something, all of a sudden I have about 20 mothers. Alright. And my mom's not even that bad. So Mom, if you're watching this, you're awesome. Greatest mom. I really appreciate and love you. And everything else a son should say to his mother. Alright. So you can see all the foam up here, and a lot of this is just air that's being pushed out of the wood. Now, moisture and air is coming out, and this is really important. that heat is causing all that to go out, and it creates a vacuum where the wax can go back in. You see all this debris up here, and this is just sawdust and all kinds of different things that have fallen into our wax dipping tank. It won't hurt it a bit. But you can kind of see how it's foaming over here, and eventually that's all going to work its way. And let's get under here. You can just kind of watch as it's bubbling up. And it's really nice to have things assembled. A lot of people ask me this, well, why don't you do it unassembled so you can fit more in? One, the more equipment you have in here, the more foaming that you're going to get. And also, if you assemble it afterwards, then you have to worry about all the new breaks that you made in it. If you're running screws through it or staples, every time you put that in, that's another place that a drop of moisture could get down into. So it's really about just creating the perfect seal, or as close as possible, and every single gap being sealed correctly. So this is pretty warm, so we're going to set that down. It's nice to have a bucket of water back here. Definitely make sure your tank doesn't overflow. Now this tank, I just turned it back on, so it's not at full temperature right now. That's why I was able to handle that lid so long. Definitely want to have an apron on or something like that. It's very helpful too. All right, but yeah, this is just soaking right on in. You can see it bubbling right there next to these screws. It's just soaking right in there, sealing around those screws. You can see a couple staples that we put in here. I'm going to do a test here before too long, because some folks say that you can't use glue and glue the lids down with this stuff. They say this heat compromises that. I'm not 100% sure that's the case, so I'm going to be trying to do some tests and seeing if that actually is the case. And I'll be doing a video on that specifically sometime here in the near future. So let me pull this one out so it has room to expand, and that's just soaking right on up beautifully. Yeah, you get a close-up on that, Laurel, if you want, and then we'll go over and look at the equipment. Whew, hot, hot, hot. These are a nice pair of gloves too. They're nice and thick. You definitely want gloves that aren't going to be really tight on your hands, because they'll be very difficult to get off. But it's very cheap to do once you actually get the setup. The wax itself isn't that bad, but the problem is getting the tank, which you can sometimes get some Amish or Mennonite fellows to make for you at a more reasonable price, or if you have those skills or a buddy in the family, you can get them to do it. They're really not that complicated of a tank, but then the initial investment into the beeswax, into the wax, because you have to fill the tank up and you have to keep it filled. So I think we purchased 600 or so pounds, and I want to say that 40% of what we purchased went just to fill the tank up. Somewhere around there, pretty close. And so that initial investment is pretty a lot to swallow, but if you can get a group of beekeepers or a bee club together, or if you have some welding skills, that works out pretty well. I'll try to leave a link below in the comments. Pin it at the top, and you can see where I purchased this wax from. I really think it's a quality wax. Let me show you real quick. So this right here is a chunk of the microcrystalline. I don't know if you can see it really well with the camera, but it's more of a sticky feel than a hard wax, like a block of beeswax. And this is the paraffin right here, and it's much more smooth. It's easier to break it. It wants to chip more. And the reason you want to have both of these is for the fact that on the atomic level, this one right here is single chain, and so that doesn't bond into your wood near as much, and that's why you use both of them. If you use paraffin, it's going to want to leach out of your boxes more, where the microcrystalline is really interlinked really well. So using 50-50 of both of these products, so I use 50% of this, 50% of the microcrystalline, and that works very well. If you only use the paraffin, it's not going to want to stay in your box as good. And using this nice wax, it really creates, once it dries and cools down, it is a hard layer. You can kind of peel it up a tiny bit with your fingernail, but not much. Most of it's in the wood. It's not really gummy feeling or anything like that, and it's really nice, because some of the older methods that I've seen, it leaves the box feeling really gummy. I mean, there's really not much coming up with that at all, and what's on the outside really isn't helping. You just need what's soaked into the wood, so it's really nice. It's really high quality stuff. All right, now over here, you know, we're in the process of doing a lot of different things, but we have about the equivalent of 300 mating nukes cut up, and we'll be doing more videos on this. Dustin still hasn't got all of his work done, so we're gonna have to get the whip out and, you know, get him into shape. He's twice my size, so hopefully he'll behave. Anyway, so we've this is the wrong board. We just got a bunch of scrap, well, not scrap, but just a bunch of wood that we've had stacked up for a long time, and some of it's a little faded, but it's still in really good condition. And we have the joints here that we've made with a dado blade, and we've cut out the sides so we can take the end boards and just push them right up against it, just like our boxes. The frame rests are up here. And once we get it all completed, we'll show you. We're going to be making some grooves in the center for the mating nukes. It's going to be really neat. And the cool thing about watching our videos is the fact that you don't have to spend anything to watch them, and then you get to see all the mistakes that we made, so you don't have to make them yourselves. That's the cool thing about YouTube. And we'll be honest, if it works out really well for us, we'll be, of course, going like this and like, ah, yeah, wasn't that a great idea? Or if not, Laura will probably be making some comments about the boneheaded ideas that I have. So anyways, we're fixing to wax dip the nucleus colony over here. Did you already stick it in there, Dustin? All right. I was already going to have it in there, but I forgot. But here's that 5-frame nuke that I showed y'all how to make. And they're really easy, so we're going to be wax dipping that. And we're going to be using this in the videos this year. We have some 5-frame nuke boxes that we've made. So we're going to try to keep some colonies and some really cool equipment. And I've got some really neat stuff. I can't wait to show you guys. So stay around for that. Watch out for the live chat tomorrow at 7 p.m. Be there or be square. And bring your questions. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And I'm going to try to eat plenty of honey before the video so I have a lot of energy, because it sounds like there's a lot of questions going to be on there. So thanks everyone for watching our videos. Spring's almost here. I mean, the bees are already flying and getting in the maple trees. So for us Tennesseans, we better get busy. So that's what we're going to do. Thanks for watching our videos.